Hello and welcome to the Long Island Weather Update. It's 9:30 on December the 7th, and yet another cloudy, dreary day, a chilly day, and it's another dreary day across the area. Let's look at our current conditions, and you'll see here we are in the mid 30s, 32 at Islip. West Hampton's down to 27. We may get some radiational cooling tonight because the skies are sort of clearing out a little bit. There's still some upper level junk around. You can see we were only in the 30s mainly today. Mainly only in the 30s with all the cloud cover that we had today, though the air, see not a big spread between the temperature and the dew point. Hence all the clouds, you'll notice the wind was southwest there, so that's going to bring in warmer air. Looking at our highs, upper 30s to around 40 did it for most of the entire area. Lows, we had a low of 19 at West Hampton, so I guess there was some radiational cooling this morning. Other than that, we had lows in the mid-20s, so it looked like we did get a little radiational cooling in parts of our area at 30s in the urban areas like New York City. So let's take a look at our statistics for the day. And looking at the statistics, and it probably won't wind up being that much below normal. So Islip was, well, it was because of that radiational cooling, I guess. So the high of 39 was 8 degrees below normal. The low of 25 was 7 degrees below normal, putting us 7 degrees below normal at Islip for the day. Central Park was 6 degrees below normal. So, yeah, it was colder today, I guess because we did have that cool morning, I guess. But anyway, obviously, everybody's paying attention to the storm, and the Weather Service is talking about it, too. Heavy rain and strong winds late Sunday into early Monday morning. And we're going to have a better idea of how bad the storm is going to be, but it could be a real soaker. So here we go. Heavy rain, storm total rainfall of 2 to 2.5 inches across New York City and points north and west, and 1.5 to 2 inches for much of Long Island, southeastern Connecticut. Much of this will fall over a 12-hour period, late Sunday into early Monday morning, before tapering off Monday morning. Flash flood impacts. Main threat will be areas of minor urban and poor drainage flooding with isolated flash flooding possible. There is potential for minor flooding along quick-responding small rivers, streams, creeks of northeast New Jersey, lower Hudson Valley, and southwest Connecticut. Strong winds sustained winds of 25 to 35 miles an hour with gusts to 45 to 50 are possible along the coast Sunday evening into early Monday morning. A few trees and power lines and scattered tree limbs could be down, so power outages are possible. I would say likely. Coastal flooding widespread because they're being conservative with the wind speeds. We're going to look at the models in a little bit here. So coastal flooding, widespread minor to locally moderate coastal flooding, potential 1 to 2 feet above AGL for vulnerable communities. So we could see the coastal flooding here, and there's still mild spread exists in speed and timing of the frontal passage. A slower passage would increase the potential for localized urban and stream flooding. So we'll have to look at the timing on that. You see they got a wind map here. However, I think the wind gusts could be worse than this. At least that's what we've been seeing from the models. So let's get to the models now. And we'll still have fair weather tomorrow. High pressure starts moving offshore, giving us southwest winds and maybe a little more sun, but I think we're going to have a lot of lines, jet junk in the sky. That's going to be more the same for Saturday with temperatures increasing. And then this front, you see the models are a little slow with it now, bringing it in a little more after midnight. And it would move through Monday morning, and look at that V in the isobars, and then fair weather would return on the back side of that front. Though the air behind this isn't all that cold. If we look at the temperature anomaly chart, you'll see just seasonal air. So anyway, but it's still going to be a strong cold front because of the warmth that we're going to have ahead of it. So let's go into the regional view here and look at this front again. So this front has a couple of characteristics that make it very dangerous. And one of those characteristics that we see, it's a very sharp cold front, and you'll notice that the isobars are very close together, so there's going to be a lot of wind, a very strong LLJ, but you'll also notice that there is a V. So if we look at the isobars, you'll see that V shape in the isobars. That means potential for severe weather, severe thunderstorms possible with this. Nobody's talking about that, but whenever you see that with the front, the potential is there for severe weather, and that's something we're going to have to, pay attention to. Obviously, all the rain we're going to get, you can see some very heavy rain over us. Notice that it kind of actually intensifies as it makes it toward Long Island, the rain. So that's kind of interesting there. This is the GFS, and total accumulated rainfall on the GFS here would actually put the heavier rain over Long Island, 2 inches or more. So there's a good potential for 2 inches. It's going to be a soaker. This is going to be a very wet December. We're already above normal for precipitation. This is going to put us even more above normal for rainfall as we get that tropical feed. So if we go to 700 M, you'll notice the moisture here. And actually, we're going to pull this back out again and show you what an LLJ is. So you can clearly see here this LLJ that's coming out from the tropics here. And this is similar to the atmospheric rivers they have in California. So this is a atmospheric river, a low-level jet of, again, we have warm water in the tropics, and that is pulling up all that moisture up into the northeast and giving us this really strong LLJ that we're going to have here. And you can clearly see it right there. It's really saturated air, and then behind it, the dry air moves in. And then we have better weather behind it. But this is going to be one hell of a storm. And it's going to be one of the, I think significant wind. I can't remember the last time we had a wind event this bad. But those isobars are pretty close together. So let's take a look at some of the wind speeds here that the GFS is predicting, and we'll go over all of this here. Obviously, we'll talk about the next couple of days, but I just wanted to show you this. This is the wind here, so you get a chance to see how that wind, this is at 850, see how the wind intensifies as it moves further east over Long Island, and even worse for New England. So look at these winds. I mean, you're talking about tropical storm force, perhaps even hurricane force winds, not that far up above us. Very unusual to see this, but again, LLJs are going to be more of a problem as we deal with the climate crisis and, of course, this El Nino, this very strong El Nino, which is going to help fuel these LLJs as well. So you can clearly see that very strong jet of air. So if we look at the winds at the surface, you'll see the kind of sustained winds we're talking about. Red, I mean, gale, storm warnings are going to probably be needed, and high wind warnings, especially, I think, for Long Island. I think we'll need a high wind warning. I'll be surprised if one isn't issued. So we'll talk a little bit more about the storm. Obviously, we don't have that many models to look at for this storm. We do have the European model as well, which we can use as well, which will also show this storm as well. Europeans even more intense with the wind, almost looks even worse to some extent here. But similar type of deal. We'll look at the European here as well. You can see, again, that V, those tight isobars. Pretty much all the models seem to agree on this. We have the icon as well, which will show this as well. And you can see there that really heavy rain that's going to occur. It's going to occur later at night, so the rain's really not going to start, the heavier rain, until later at night. So the good news is the worst of it should hit while everybody's home, so people won't have to be out in it, hopefully. But this could cause problems for the trains in the morning if we have those high winds. I think it's not a matter of if, it's how high the winds will be. I think we're going to have high winds. So none of the short-range models are going to take us into this, but going back to GFS, I'll put dew points on the screen so you get an idea of this tropical LLJ that's coming up our way. So you can clearly see those high dew points there. That's your very, very moist air. And that Saturday will still have relatively dry air, but then as we get into Sunday, that's when we're going to be dealing with a lot of this really moist air. And you can see it's going to be colliding with much drier air. And that front right there, this is something, like I said, we're going to have to watch for the potential of severe weather with such a lot of wind shear like that. I couldn't even rule out a possible tornado, perhaps, given just how volatile the atmosphere looks, at least on these models. I've never seen anything this intense in the winter time before. This is climatological winter we're in, even though astronomical winter doesn't start until a week or two away. But this looks pretty bad. So let's go into the short range now. We'll talk about the short range. We're looking at our dew point and wind flow here map. And you'll see northwest winds become southwest tomorrow. So that means tomorrow will be milder. And then as we head into Saturday, now this model has a little bit of a different idea. It brings in the moisture air a little bit more towards Saturday afternoon. Dry air might hang in a little more inland. This is the HRRR's way of thinking. But it's where the storm itself is just outside of the short-range models. Your air temperatures tonight, if we get radiational cooling, I think we'll see the potential for 20s in the Pine Barrens, temperatures around 30 elsewhere, and then higher than that in the city. And tomorrow it will be warmer, mid to upper 40s. I think it'll be close to the seasonal norms, low 50s. At least this is what the HRRR is thinking, unless we overperform with that, which is always a possibility. Saturday night, we'll probably drop into 30s. It'll still be cool because we have the dry air and relatively clear skies. And then Saturday, we start warming up. You'll see the temperatures get up into the 50s. Much, much warmer conditions as we get into Saturday. Let's go look at our skies. We'll look at soundings again, and we'll show you again what we're going to be dealing with tomorrow in the skies. Lots of high-level clouds. So the surface probably won't be... Yeah, the surface doesn't look too bad, but you do have some mid-level moisture, and then look at all this high-level moisture. So expect a lot of clouds and a pretty junky-looking sky tomorrow with a lot of jet junk in there, or jet smog, as I call it. And Saturday will probably be a similar deal, I'm sure. We'll look at the RGEM for that. So look at the RGEM for the skies, and you'll see, again, you see that milky haze that will be around in the sky from time to time. Won't be a blue sky tomorrow. And then Saturday, we'll have more of it. And then obviously Sunday, we'll be dealing with the storm. Though it does show clear skies Saturday night before the storm comes in on the RGEM. And we can actually look at the storm on the RGEM. It's the only kind of semi-short range model that goes far enough out. So we can sort of look at it, and you can see it actually starts the rain right after, I'd say, 7 o'clock or so, and then heavy rain, perhaps. And again, if slower timing means more rain, and we'll have a better idea of that for your tomorrow night. I think we'll have more models to look at, and definitely have more information on this storm. Let's go to visualize the storm a little more. We're going to look at Ventu Sky again, and we're going to move this to Sunday. And so Sunday, you can see the kind of very warm air that we have. This is 10 o'clock Sunday. You can see in the heart of the LLJ. Temperatures around 60 degrees at 10 o'clock at night, which is pretty insane. You can see the much cooler, drier air. So you can see the temperature contrast between the two sides here. And these are the air temperatures. The dew points will be just as high. So if we look at the humidity here, very high humidity as well. Warm, humid. You would probably need the air conditioner. It's going to be really humid out. Again, this is tropical air. Not supposed to see this in December, but again, this is part of the new normal that we're dealing with as we deal with the climate crisis continuing to spiral out of control. So looking at wind gusts here, we'll look at that here. You see right now wind gusts 37. Okay, it's not too bad, but then we move it later on. And you see here, we got wind gusts up to 50 miles an hour. And then we'll move this to 1 o'clock. It gets even worse. And remember, the slower this front moves, the more time we're going to have in these strong winds. So now I have winds gusting to 60 miles an hour and above 60 as it gets over the east. Now, I think hurricane-force wind gusts are possible, especially further east and along the shore. I think there'll be a widespread amount of power outages. It could be 50,000, perhaps, people lose power from this on Long Island. I think that's a rough estimate. This is what I say. And, being how great and awesome the power grid here is in Mineola, I'm sure that I may be one of them. Let's go look at loft now. So let's move this back to 1 speed, and we're going to go up. Now, this is the Icon model, but we're going to go above the ground here. All right, let's go to 850. We'll go to 900, just 1,000 meters. Just 1,000 meters up. Take a look at these winds. 78 miles an hour. This is not very high up. You're dealing with winds, sustained hurricane force. This is the kind of deal we're dealing with. And that's already going to start as we get into Sunday afternoon, but especially Sunday evening. And again, any one of these thunderstorms could tap into that energy there that you're seeing right here. This is not that high up, just 1,000 meters. And look at how strong the winds are. I mean, this is insane. And it gets worse as it moves further east. So, again, it gets even worse as it moves further east. I mean, these are winds just above the surface here, 1,000 meters up, which is not that high at all. All right, 90-mile-an-hour winds. All right, I'll back this down a little bit to 950. It's not much better. Here's 500 meters. This is frightening. This is 500 meters up, and you're dealing with winds sustained 70 miles an hour. 500 meters. That's not very high at all. And so this is the kind of damage we're going to see. I'm telling you, prepare for a tropical storm. That's what I'm telling you. It's going to be like a tropical storm. That's what it's going to be. Let's go to 250 meters here, and it's still pretty strong. 65 miles an hour. This is 10 o'clock. 1 o'clock. 66 miles an hour. I mean, this is insane. 73. This is right at 250 meters. I'm telling you, we're going to have a tropical storm type of conditions. And looking at some of these wind gusts, I think I'm going to revise my power outage. I think we could see as much as 80 to 100,000 people on Long Island lose power. So this is going to be pretty bad, and especially the longer it lasts. So this is a storm that people need to take very seriously. It's not just going to be a little rain and wind. This is going to be a tropical storm. You're going to have tree branches down, trees uprooted perhaps, along with flash flooding, depending on how much rain we get, and also a lot of people losing power, I think, as a result of this. So prepare for this storm. It's going to be a bad one. And the other thing that I do want to look at here a moment is we'll go to the waves here. And the other thing is look at these waves offshore, 16 feet. So I think you're going to have a lot of flooding on the south shore. I don't know what time the high tide is, but there's going to be flooding there as well. This is going to be a very damaging storm. Even though it won't be, let's go move this over to Monday here. Even though it won't last terribly long, it'll still be it could be as much as a 10-hour period of these kind of conditions. So, again, look at these waves here Monday. I mean, this is insane, the kind of weather we're seeing here. I mean, look at 20 footers south of Martha's Vineyard. That's insane. So I'm very, very worried about this storm, and you need to pay attention to the Weather Service. I think we'll have a high wind warning. I think we'll have a storm warning for the offshore waters, and a coastal flood warnings probably, and probably flash flood warnings, and also on top of that, the potential for severe thunderstorm warnings and perhaps even a tornado warning. So this storm is nothing to play around with, but this is all part of the new normal as we deal with the worsening climate crisis. These are the kind of storms we're going to see more and more often, and it's too late. There's nothing we can do about it. We're screwed, basically. So buckle up.